Okay, let's dive in. Ever wanted to, really get inside a villain's head? Not just the big evil plans, but the actual machinery? What makes them tick?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. That's what we're doing today. We're looking at a review from supermanhomepage.com. It's for Absolute Superman 7. And this review, it really zeroes in on Brainiac, one of Superman's biggest bads.
It was a classic.
So our mission today is basically to unpack what this reviewer thought, especially about Brainiac's portrayal here, and, crucially, why focusing a whole story on the villain can be, well, tricky.
It really can. And the reviewer jumps right on that, actually. They sort of flag it as a potential issue, this shift in focus.
Snag, they called it.
Pretty much. Issue 7. Suddenly it's all Brainiac all the time.
Yeah.
But the reviewer's point is, look, we've already spent time on Lois, another Brainiac story earlier, even Krypton. And we're only 7 issues into this Superman story. So focusing so heavily on Brainiac again, it felt like it could break the momentum, pull you away from the main guy.
Yeah, I get that. It's like you're invested in one thing and suddenly the spotlight swings way over there. Have you ever felt that way reading something? Like, hey, wait, I want to know what happens next with the hero.
Oh, totally. It happens. But, the reviewer doesn't just dismiss it. Even with that concern about pacing, they found the way Brainiac was handled really interesting, specifically his origin.
Okay, so there's a payoff then.
Potentially. They call it a fun new take because this isn't your standard, evil genius from space origin.
Yeah. How's it different?
Well, get this. He starts as Brainiac.
Yeah.
419,732.
Whoa, that's a lot of Brainiac.
Exactly. That number itself tells a story? Maybe. But his job, his initial function, it was just disposing of expired Brainiac bodies in a furnace.
Seriously, like cosmic sanitation?
Pretty much. Wait for it.
Yeah.
49,901 days.
49,000 days. Oh my God. Just throwing old Brainiacs in a furnace.
Yeah. Imagine the isolation, the repetition.
No wonder the review says he got a bit loopy.
Right. It paints this picture of solitude, maybe even a kind of mental breakdown. Makes his later actions feel, well, maybe rooted in something more than just being programmed evil.
So is that the foundation? Does that repetitive task somehow make him the villain we know?
That's the implication, I think. The review then describes how all the other Brainiacs disappear. Poof. Gone. And our guy, 419,732, finds the destroyed Brainiac 1 on the bridge.
Ah, okay, so he's the last one standing.
Effectively, yeah. He goes from being this, janitor figure to the sole inheritor of the Brainiac legacy.
It's a weird promotion.
Definitely unusual. And the reviewer suggests it really makes you question his motives now. Is it survival? Is it some twisted sense of duty?
Okay, so that's the origin. But the review talks about present day, too, right?
It does. Jumps forward to him in this compound out in the Nevada desert. Still solitary. Still maybe a bit off.
And what's he doing out there? More furnace duty.
No. Something creepier. The review mentions him experimenting with cybernetics on a human subject.
Yikes. Okay, definitely villain territory now.
And he's obsessed. Completely fixated on his Superman problem.
Ah, the classic obsession.
Right. And he gets so frustrated, apparently, that he has these outbursts. The review mentions him smashing jar cities.
He keeps tiny cities in jars and smashes them.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Like a kid having a tantrum, but, with cosmic-level intellect behind it.
Okay, that is kind of loopy. So how does he plan to solve this Superman problem, just smashing jars?
Well, no, this is where it gets strategically interesting. The review highlights him convening a council.
A council? Of who? I thought he was the last one.
Good question. A council of Brainiacs from across the universe.
Wait, what? How does that work with the origin?
That's the intriguing part the review points out. Maybe his origin story isn't the whole story, or maybe these are Echo's simulations. Who knows? But the point is, he's not just relying on his own possibly compromised intellect. He's reaching out.
Crowdsourcing anti-Superman strategies.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to learn everything about Superman's origins, his weaknesses. It shows a different kind of threat, not just brute force, but cunning. Information gathering on a massive scale.
So it speaks to his problem solving, right? He identifies a gap in his knowledge and seeks data. Very Brainiac.
Exactly. Even if his methods are extreme.
And the review picks up on this idea of him evolving.
Yeah, that's a key observation. This Brainiac is described as an evolving creation. He apparently even recognizes his own passions, his anger, his obsession, and he wants to remove them.
He wants to debug himself, get rid of the messy emotions.
That seems to be the idea. Like he's striving for pure cold logic, but he's constantly fighting against these, well, almost human-like drives,
Yeah.
especially his fixation on Superman.
Wow, so he's this super intelligent being trying to perfect himself by eliminating feeling, but he's driven by this intense feeling about Superman.
Precisely. That internal conflict, the drive for logic versus the overwhelming obsession, is what the reviewer finds really compelling.
Makes him less predictable, maybe, more dangerous.
Could be. He's not static. He's actively trying to change, ironically fueled by the very thing he wants to eliminate.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the look of the book? The art.
Ah, yes. Universal acclaim there, according to the review. Just glowing.
Really?
Yeah. Carmine Di Giandomenico did the interiors. Rafa Sandoval did the main cover. Both got 5 out of 5.
Perfect scores. Nice. What did they like about Giandomenico's work?
The reviewer called it perfectly creepy. Said it really amped up the depravity of Brainiac.
So the art really sells the unsettling nature of this version.
Sounds like it. Really leaned into the horror, maybe?
And Sandoval's cover.
Just described as fantastic. Probably captures that same dark, intense feeling.
Any word on the variant cover, sometimes those offer different takes.
Yeah, the review mentions them briefly. Dan Panosian and Larix got 3 out of 5, called fine.
Okay, decent.
But Jorge Molina's variant got a 4 out of 5. The reviewer noted the use of shadows across Superman's face and his forearms being lit up in energy.
Interesting visual contrast there. Shadows and light. Does it connect back to this specific Brainiac, maybe his hidden knowledge or something?
The review doesn't explicitly say, but it's a cool observation. It shows how different artists interpret the themes, you know.
Definitely. Okay, so let's wrap our heads around this. The reviewer had mixed feelings initially.
Right, about the pacing.
Yeah.
Felt like maybe it pulled focus from Superman too much, too early.
But ultimately, they found this deep dive into Brainiac pretty worthwhile.
Yeah, because the take on Brainiac was so unique. The origin, the internal conflict, this idea of him evolving.
And the creepy art selling it all.
Exactly. And it sets up some potentially huge things down the line.
Like what?
Well, think about it. Brainiac now has access to this council's knowledge. All about Superman's origins, his weaknesses, gathered from across the universe.
Ooh, right. That's not good for Clark.
Definitely raises the stakes for future encounters. So even if it slowed things down for an issue, understanding the why behind the villain, seeing his own twisted journey.
It adds depth to the whole conflict, right? Makes the eventual showdown mean more.
That's the idea. The reviewer seems to land there, intrigued by where this is going, despite the initial reservations about the detour.
So the takeaway here really seems to be about perspective, how shifting focus, even if it feels jarring at first, can build a richer world, a more complex antagonist.
Yeah. It shows the deliberate choices creators are making. It's not just random. They're building something bigger, piece by piece.
Which leads to a thought for you, listening right now. How does getting inside the villain's head like this change how you see the hero's struggle?
Does understanding Brainiac's weird origin, his furnace-tending past, his self-improvement obsession, does that make his fight with Superman feel different? More meaningful, maybe?
Think about other stories, books, movies, comics, whatever. When has a deep dive into the bad guy's world really changed the whole game for you?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. And hey, if you want to read this review yourself or check out others, head over to supermanhomepage.com. Great resource. All right, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.